it takes us almost a year to celebrate is we couldn't figure out which date we'd celebrate. There's Founders Day, there's the day we actually were incorporated, there's the day we first met for a service. There's so many days we could pick to celebrate that we decided, well, let's just make it a 6 month to a year celebration. Does that sound good? Think of all the cake we can have. Here, just think of all the cake, and we're starting out today. Wow. Well, as I think back on all the years of my life, don't you wish life would have come with a handbook? You know, Oprah magazine, for those of you who have read Oprah magazine, know that every month on the last page of the magazine, she has a special column called What I Know for Sure. And every month she writes an article on what she truly believes is true and how it's helped her and empowered her. And I thought, well, that's kind of neat. I think I'd write a column, What I Wish I Would Have Known for Sure. Couldn't you all write a column, What You Wish You Would Have Known for Sure? And I thought, well, what do I wish I would have known starting out in this life? Because I don't know about you, I'd like to have a do-over. Where I'd come back and redo this whole thing, knowing what I know now. Yeah. Wouldn't that be great? I think I'd skip high school, but that's all. So I narrowed it down to 3 today. I know there's many more than 3, and I think each one of you would have a different 3, so we can all share that after the service. But the 3 that I narrowed it down to, partly because of what we're studying in our Tuesday book study, but the first one is to live life totally in the now moment. Yes. Never leaving the now moment. The second one is to live in the flow. Only be in the flow, not resisting. And the third one goes with that, not resisting or fighting or complaining about what is. Wow, in my life have been different just with those 3. And those I'm just getting started on 3. So let's look at each of those. We'll start with the first one. You know, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. How many of you have read The Power of Now? Oh, good. So that must be why we have such great energy in this church. Probably one of the top 10 best spiritual books out there. He talked about the power and the benefits of living only in the now. Because most of us, and please, I can't be the only one, our minds are like windshield wipers. First I'm in the past, then I go to the future, then I go back to the past, ding, 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 ding. And the now is here, and I keep passing the now for the past and the future. Anybody relate to that besides me? I always had one honest person. There's a few more today, that's great. I'm so embarrassed looking at my life that I live most of my life looking forward to the future. I mean, start when you were a kid. How many here when you were a child said, oh, I can't wait to grow up? Anybody say that? Did you all want to say, I can't wait to grow up? And I'd love to go back and relive one day in that innocence of my childhood. Just enjoying the farm and the trees. And I did enjoy nature when I lived there. But I think it was an impatient now moment. I was in the now, but it was very impatient now moment. Can you relate to that? Yes, sure. And you know, impatience is such a word because Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity, the co-founder, actually said if you're impatient, it can hinder your good. It can actually hinder your good. And man, if I got a list on that one, you know, no wonder why it's taken me so long to finally get these 3 things. Well, then there was that dreaded high school. You know, maybe it wasn't so bad for all of you. I guess it wasn't that bad. But I couldn't wait to graduate from high school. I couldn't wait to become an adult. In my do-over, like I said, I may skip high school. I may even skip grade school. I don't know. But I had my 11th grade history teacher. I will never forget this day. It's in my mind permanently. My history teacher in 11th grade overheard me talking to my friends. Oh, I can't wait to see what the year 2000 will bring. I was so excited about the possibilities that the year 2000 would bring. And as he was passing by, he looked at me and he said, never wish yourself old. And those words have come back to haunt me many times. Because the year 2000 came and went and it seemed like nothing changed. You know, where was that thrill that I thought was going to be there? Never wish yourself old. When I was a young adult, you know those times when I was healthy and had that vibrant energy. Who in Green Valley want to go back and live fully in that day of being healthy and vibrant, right? But I kept looking forward. There's more adventures if I keep looking forward instead of just being present to the one I was in. I was always looking forward. I couldn't wait to get married, and then I couldn't wait to have children. And I love being a mother. But I think, if I say, was I totally present? I was present. But I'd love to go back for a day and just be totally 100% present with those boys. What a wonderful day. Ecclesiastes reminds us there's a time for every purpose under heaven if we could just be with it. And every stage, every day, everything we go through has meaning and purpose if we don't fight it, resist it, want to be someplace else, want it all to be different. There is a blessing in every moment. And in the now moment is the only opportunity for peace. You can't have peace in the future or the past. It's only here right now. Same with happiness. Only here right now. And to experience the divine. I love the old poem that said, I am, I am. I'm not, I was, or I will be. I am that I am. Right here, right now. So that's number one, what I wish I would have known for sure in starting this life. Now number two, and I think this is probably one of the more important ones, is living in the flow. Our good is only in the flow. And most of us spend time, I'm speaking for myself of course, resisting that flow, trying to take it to another direction. Maybe whining a little bit about it. Where is this taking me? I want to be over there and it's taking me over here. I'm the worst example. And probably because I'm from Minnesota. Hey, Minnesota girls, will you agree with me that in Minnesota we were taught to get her done and get her done right and do it as fast as we could and I'm a get her done kind of person. And then I met Michael and went to Tennessee, and they do it different in Tennessee. They take it slow and easy. And his mother would serve us lunch, and she'd be talking slow, and she'd look at me, and I was done eating, and the rest of them hadn't even started yet. And she'd look at me and say, Ma, you sure do eat fast. I had to learn, and I still don't have it right, to be in the flow of life. Not to keep rushing through it. And those of you who volunteer during the week and helping me out know that if something doesn't flow around here, I don't do it. If it's not flowing, and if we're having to push the stream, I just say, well, it can't be time yet. People come, why aren't you doing this? We should be doing this. Well, in the right time, we will. It's got to flow. Because if you don't do it in the flow, you'll just go over one boulder after another in that river. When it flows, it takes off. I think I had 1 month in my whole life where I was totally in the flow. Michael, remember our sabbatical we took? I've been in ministry for 17 years. Ministers are supposed to take a sabbatical every 7 years, but as Minnesota ministers, I waited 17 years before stopping. And so we had 30 days. It's supposed to be 3 months, but I only took 1 month. 30 days where we just drove around the western part of the country in the flow. We had a general plan, but we didn't know where we'd stop for the night. We didn't know where we were going to eat, what we were going to do. And we were just in the flow for 30 days. And it was the most magical 30 days. When it came time to eat, we would find a restaurant that was the best fish I ever had, or the best steak I ever had, or the best taco I ever had. And when we went to stay somewhere at night, it was like, oh, what a wonderful place this was. It was all in the flow. Except for 2 days in Wyoming when it rained for 2 days. But rain is flow, rain is flow. It reminded me of the book by Stephen Taylor. I think, Gail, you mentioned Stephen Taylor last week. And he wrote a book called Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And the whole book compares life to the old song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And if you look at the words, you row your boat, you go through life gently down the stream, in the flow of where the stream is going. Merrily, 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 joyously, because life is but a dream, so why fight it? Why resist it? Why try to go the other way? Let's just sing one verse together. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. All right, remember that this week. I'm rushing around like now you know why I'm not the song leader here. There was a catchphrase in the 60s and 70s, don't push the river. It was a catchphrase. And it was said to people that were tense and anxious and uptight, especially in Minnesota. In Unity, we say it a different way. We say, I shouldn't be so hard on Minnesota. We're just such hardworking, good people. We just get her done, don't we? In Unity, we say, what you resist, persist. Boy, that's a tough lesson to learn. Anything you're trying to push, control, force, or complain about, it's going to persist in your life until you make peace with it. And then you'll enter the flow of grace again. Work your way out of it. So the third thing on my list was non-resistance to what is. Oh gosh, even my body feels lighter when I think about that. Now I'm not talking about accepting abuse. That's about learning to love yourself. But as it said in the book study this last week, we have this wonderful book, Falling into Grace. Welcome and be open to all experiences, the good, the bad, and even the ugly. Just be open to something there. Our instability, the author says, our instability is caused by our constant arguing with what's happening. Anybody here argue with what's happening all the time? Come on, really? To tell life that it shouldn't be the way it is a type of insanity. They're very clear on that. It's a type of insanity. And it's all going on and all in my head all the time. Why is it this way? I don't want it to, this should be this way. This should change. I should be over here. Even complaining about the weather in Green Valley. It's too hot. It's raining. The author says at that moment, we're in opposition with reality. So how can it flow? How can our good flow if we're in opposition with reality? Now, it doesn't mean being passive. I disagreed with our famous co-founder, Charles Fillmore, this week. I looked up the word non-resistance in the Revealing Word. And of course, this book was written way before Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King, and he described it as a passive state of mind. And I thought, boy, there's nothing less passive than non-resistance. It takes great mind discipline. It takes strength to be non-resistant, to choose to find the flow of grace. That's not being passive. That takes great courage. I'm so glad in Unity it's okay to disagree with the founder or the minister. It's okay to disagree. Aren't you glad of that? The power of non-resistance takes acceptance, accepting what is, trusting and using the present moment to find the grace, and then allowing the grace to help you move through it. Wow, that takes some spiritual power. Adi Ashante, the author of the book, said, instead of viewing life as a ground for constant negotiation, aren't you as embarrassed as I am? You ever view it as a constant ground for negotiation? Now, it doesn't mean you don't change things. I'm all about change. I'm a Gemini. I love change. But it means doing it in the flow of grace, not my egoic control. My egoic control is different than the flow of grace. And that's why the Serenity Prayer is known as the Serenity Prayer. Those of you who know it, say it with me. God grant me the courage to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. No wonder why it's called the Serenity Prayer. That's the only way to peace, is it not? A mental acceptance of what is. Adi Ashante said it's a sense of natural ease and happiness that's there simply because we are open entirely to the way things are. We're just open. Doesn't mean we agree with it or like it. We're just open, okay. And then peace is restored, and peace is a place of power where you hear those inner promptings and are able to flow with the grace to help you rise in and through and above it. What I wish I would have known for sure. How many years ago? And at our age, don't we need a sense of humor to go through life? Yeah. Luckily, that is one I came in with. Michael got a birthday card on his birthday. It said, ever notice the older we get, the more we're like computers. We start out with a lot of memory and drive. Then we eventually become outdated, crash at odd moments. I love that one, crashing at odd moments. Acquiring errors in our systems, and we have to have our parts replaced. You know, without a sense of humor, this time of our life would suck without a sense of humor. But the key is not arguing with life, not saying, I don't want to grow old, I don't want to ache. The key is not arguing with it. Adi Ashante said the greatest generator of conflict, addiction to interpreting and evaluating and judging in each and every moment of our experience. The most stress comes not from what's happening to us, but how we're responding, rather than acceptance and openness to the flow of grace. I read somewhere 60 to 90% of diseases are stress-related. Life is far too important to take seriously. So this week, think about what you know for sure. What are your 3 things that you would post in a column? And then share it with each other. Okay, let us pray. God, we know we did come in with that handbook of how to. As we enter into that deep connection with your Spirit, your power, your presence, so deep within us that we often forget it's there. We call forth the wisdom, we call forth the guidance, those inner promptings that show us the way through the acceptance of the present moment, through not resisting what is, and through being in the flow of your grace, your power, your glory. We say thank you, Father, Mother God, in the nature of the Christ, and so it is. Amen.